Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We'll explain how NCBA members work to set policy priorities and why it's critical to the long-term success of the industry. Plus, you'll learn how a good grazing management plan doesn't just protect the environment, it also helps beef producers maximize profitability.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Lane Nordline. We're continuing our coverage of the recent cattle industry summer business meeting from San Diego, where hundreds of cattle producers came together to discuss critical issues, develop initiatives, and set policy that will help shape the future of the beef industry. Joining me now is Colin Woodall, CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. And Colin, as we were here in San Diego, a lot of work accomplished in the committees and subcommittees. Why is that work so important to the future of the industry?
Well, it's important because NCBA is truly a grassroots organization. That means that the producer members of this association are the ones that tell us as the staff what to do. And the summer business meeting really is the hub of that activity to evaluate the policies we already have, to look at policies we need to have, so that way we are armed with the will of the members to then go to Washington, D.C. and promote our activities, promote our position, and ultimately do everything we can to protect the membership of this association.
Now you bring up protecting the membership and protecting the livestock themselves is key. New World screwworm, top of mind for producers right now. What is NCBA doing to protect the U.S. cattle industry from that threat?
Well, New World screwworm has definitely been a big part of the discussion here in San Diego, and our position as a national trade association has been to work very closely with a lot of our state affiliates, including the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association, the Texas Cattle Feeders Association, to get prepared. And it really is preparation through multiple levels. One is to support Secretary Rollins and the work that she is already doing to help protect us from New World screwworm. The other side is to make sure that she has all the resources and funding from Congress to be able to do what she needs to do in the response. And then to help make sure that we are educating producers on the threats of New World screwworm, what to look for, and more importantly, how to treat this pest. Because we know we can treat it, we also know we can eradicate it, and that's the goal, to eradicate this pest and push it back into South America where it came from.
Now, Colin, setting a direction for the beef industry is vital to having goals and accomplishing those goals. And here in San Diego, the beef industry's new long-range plan was released. Can you share a few of those priorities that were shared with producers this week?
The long-range plan was a result of almost a year's worth of work by a task force of members of not only this association, but also of various segments within the cattle and beef industry supply chain. And they really looked at where we are today as an industry and where we want to go as an industry. This is something we do every 5 years. This is really a roadmap for us to be able to help define the work that we do, not only on the policy side of NCBA, but also the work that is done with the Chekhov-funded Federation of State Beef Councils. And we're going to focus on things such as research and innovation. We have to continually improve as producers to be able to stay viable. And in order to continually improve, we need to have new methods, new productions, new ideas. So research is key. We have to maintain our conversation with the consumer so that way we keep demand high. As long as we have high demand, we will always have a bright future for this association. We need to keep talking to the policymakers because they have a huge impact on our success. And ultimately, all of this plan is focused on viability of our industry, viability of being a cattle producer, and making sure that we can protect our producers' rights to stay on the land, to protect their resources, to protect their cattle, and more importantly, to provide a future for their families.
Well, Colin, thanks for joining us here today and sharing your thoughts on all this hard work.
Thank you, Lane.
It is more important than ever to get involved and help support the work being done to advance the beef industry. Simply call 866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. Be sure to use the code C2C for a special offer just for our viewers. Joining us now is Kim Brackett, a cattle producer from Idaho who also serves as NCBA's vice president. And Kim, from your perspective, why is NCBA's policymaking process one of its greatest aspects of the organization?
Well, I think it's because our policy development process starts and ends with our individual members. When we have proposed policy that comes forward, it originates from local, county, or state affiliates. When it's brought forward here at our summer business meeting, we discuss it at our committee level. If it's approved by the committee and our board of directors, then each of those policies are mailed to every NCBA member in the country, and they have 30 days where they can vote on each individual policy. So that right there, that real grassroots participation gives us a great advantage as an association, and I see that when I'm in Washington, D.C. We are NCBA leadership or membership or even our staff, when we're in those agency meetings or congressional offices and sharing our policy with those individuals, they know that it comes with the full weight of NCBA's membership, and that is a powerful advantage indeed.
Now, Kim, one of those issues is predator control. What's NCBA doing to help address this critical issue for producers?
You know, predators are a real challenge for us. NCBA is working on several fronts. First, we're supporting the ESA Amendments Act, which would help reform and hopefully finally fix the Broken Endangered Species Act. We're also focused on the Pet and Livestock Protection Act, which would delist the gray wolf. I think we all know the gray wolf is recovered, and it's time we follow the science and finally delist this predator. Another predator we're focused on is the grizzly bear. So we're working to oppose the introduction of the grizzly in the North Cascades ecosystem.
Now, public lands grazing is very important, especially for Western ranchers, just like your family. What is NCBA doing to make sure that there's a future for the multi-use of public lands and, of course, that opportunity for cattle grazing out on those landscapes?
You know, we are public lands permittees. I'm from Idaho. It is a big part of the beef production system in our state and throughout the West. And when I talk about public lands, I always like to share a few statistics. I think it's important to recognize that public lands ranchers in the West are managing 250 million acres of land. And what that does is it makes us the frontline defense against wildfires, against invasive species. My favorite statistic when I'm talking public lands is that grazing reduces wildfire ignition by 50%. And it also reduces the severity of those wildfires. So when we look at that, it is really impactful to the production system throughout the industry. When we look at public lands grazing maybe from an economic perspective, the Department of Interior estimates that grazing brings back a $1.5 billion direct economic impact throughout the West. They also look at that from a broader lens of ecosystem services, and the direct economic impact at that level is $8.5 billion. So it's really important to the industry as a whole. Now, what NCBA is doing on that front, we partner with the Public Lands Council, working on several different areas. With this administration, we're focusing on regulatory reform and trying to encourage this administration to fully rescind the Western Solar Plan, the BLM Public Lands Rule. And then at the same time, encouraging them to do some reform on the BLM grazing regulations and the Forest Service grazing handbook and directives.
Well, that's a lot that's getting worked on, and there's so much more that the NCBA team is doing on behalf of the nation's cattlemen and women. So a lot to take in, but a lot of good work. So thank you so much, Kim, for shedding a little bit of light on all those key issues.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me today.
Well, coming up, we'll discuss the Beef Quality Assurance Field Guide and how it can help you apply the BQA principles every day on your farm or ranch. Stay with us.
There's nothing greater than seeing your cattle grazing on lush green pasture.
Oh yeah, and nothing ruins that view like weeds and brush soaking up all the moisture and nutrients. Regardless of precipitation, we have to take care of our pastures. It doesn't rain grass.
The passion for cattle ranching starts early. So should the protection. Let's keep our pastures in good hands with Corteva Agriscience. To learn more, visit rangeandpasture.com.
Join the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. NCBA is the oldest and largest national cattle industry organization working to defend your interests in Washington, D.C. And there are big benefits to being a member. You'll get news you can use in the National Cattlemen, email updates in the NCBA Beef Bulletin, plus big discounts only for NCBA members. Join by calling 866-233-3872 or online at ncba.org.
The Beef Checkoff funded Beef Quality Assurance Program helps us produce a high quality and wholesome product that consumers are proud to eat. And here to talk more about BQA is Josh White. He leads NCBA's education and sustainability team. And Josh, we've talked about BQA quite a lot here on the program, but how important is BQA to the beef industry?
Yeah, hopefully it's not a new topic for folks, but if it is, beef quality assurance has a rich history, right? Over 30 years of helping lead what I like to call the beef quality revolution in our industry, and really has helped lead to the kind of demand we have today. And your intro really hit on the key points. It connects what we do at the ranch every day, taking great care of cattle, to that high quality product that consumers love, and we wrap that in that cattle welfare message of, taking good care of the cattle. So it inspires a lot of confidence, but it also yields that high quality product.
And having a toolbox full of tools for producers to be successful is key. And one of those tools in the box, of course, is the BQA Field Guide. How can that be integrated daily into operations?
Yeah, so we have the BQA manual, which is kind of, we call it the Bible of BQA. It is quite a robust publication, but some folks can get kind of lost in that. It's a lot of content, right? It's 150 plus pages. The field guide's more like the Cliff Notes version. It's about half as long, a lot of links out on the online version, so you can get out to more content if you want it on a particular topic. But it's much easier to digest and get to the topic you're looking for, the reference you're looking for. It's also a size that you can throw on the truck dash or in the dashboard or on your desk and reference really easily. Available online at bqa.org, or you can request a copy from your state BQA coordinator or beef council.
Now, when it comes to continuing education, why is it so important for producers to stay up to speed on maybe updates to the BQA system or recertifying themselves for the BQA process?
Yeah, the continuing education platform we've built over the last few years, we haven't talked about it that much yet because we were trying to build enough content for it to be very robust for producers to engage. And the other wrinkle to that is you have to be in our system already to access the CE. You need to be currently certified. So for those folks that are certified, and we've got well over 100,000 folks in our database right now, you have access to 7 different modules, from herd health to stockmanship, facility design, biosecurity, transportation, lots of great content. If you haven't been certified recently, you need to either attend that in-person training or go online and do what we call our foundational modules to get recertified. And then what we're really hoping over the next years is to start messaging more about getting certified and staying certified. Let's just make this a regular part of your, annual plan for doing business. On a rainy day in the winter when it's cold, whatever, jump online, do a CE credit. It's kind of convenient because it takes 3 CE credits to recertify, and your certification's good for 3 years. So if you can just nail one of those recert credits on those topics I described each year, you'll automatically recertify when you come up to expire, and just keep certified.
Well, again, Josh, thanks for shining a little more light on an important part of the cattle industry, that, of course, being BQA certified.
Absolutely. Get certified and stay certified. That's the mantra.
Well, again, if you want to learn more about the Beef Quality Assurance Program, including information on how to get your certification or those continuing education credits as well, just visit the website bqa.org. Now, cattle producers are always looking for ways to boost profitability. Here's a look at how good grazing management can improve the bottom line of your farm or ranch.
From planning for the possibility of drought to mapping out pasture rotations and watering locations, having a sound grazing management plan can make a major difference in the health of your land and your herd. What is sometimes overlooked is how a grazing management plan can impact profitability.
Any person that has a business has a plan of how to operate that. So it's the same for, grazing management for our ranch operation.
We view our grazing management as an essential element of our business management, and therefore planning our grazing management becomes an integral part of how we plan the operation and future success of our business.
Good grazing management, it's for everyone, right? It doesn't matter from the East Coast to the West Coast to Central Plains, wherever. Good grazing management is going to increase the bottom line for you, no matter where you are.
Those with experience emphasize the value in getting every member of a farm or ranch team on the same page when it comes to a grazing management plan. And with a written document, everyone can understand what factors will trigger decisions that will influence the long-term health of the cattle business.
I think a good grazing management plan can improve the overall profitability of any cattle operation. One of the ways it could do that, it could lower feed cost, but it can also improve animal performance because the animals are grazing better quality pastures, and it could increase weaning weights or maybe increase gains on stocker calves. And it could also allow us to have a higher stocking rate and actually run more cattle for the same unit of land when grazing management practices are applied to the operation.
Every little thing that you do makes the next thing better, which makes the next thing better, which improves resilience, which improves grassland performance, which improves the cattle's performance, which improves breed-up rates, which improves the carcass quality of the calf at the end of the day. It's a snowball working in our favor.
We're always struggling, how do we stay in business? And this is a great way to have that plan to help us, guide us, for us as well as our workers and the next generation, to make those decisions and be able to look back and be able to re-guide and hit the North Star.
Bringing that plan to life, making a commitment to it, will change the way you think about your business and about the future trajectory of that business. In fact, I think that going through the steps of a grazing management plan are probably a good way for most operators who are typically more comfortable with thinking about production, right, than their business. It's actually a great opportunity to start thinking about production in a way that fully integrates into your business plan. By bringing those two things together, you'll be more successful in the long run, and future generations will thank you for it.
Bottom line, a clear, well-thought-out grazing management plan written down and shared with the whole family or production team can help secure the economic future of a cattle operation. This segment was made possible by a USDA Natural Resources Conservation Services Grazing Lands Conservation Initiative Cooperative Agreement.
Are you looking to maximize your grazing potential? Just visit ncba.org and click on the Education and Resources tab to download a free copy of the Grazing Management Workbook. Up next on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll talk about the Federation of State Beef Councils and the ways it works to increase consumer demand for beef. Stay with us.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
Biosecurity is becoming more and more important in the cattle industry. Proper washout of your trailer after hauling certain classes of cattle, changing classes, or going to a different facility is all important. Changing your footwear, making sure that your clothing and your footwear is not contaminating different facilities as well. Using a side-by-side or a four-wheeler. All these things, when we go to different yards, different lots, make sure that they come back clean and not spreading disease. DQA, the right way is the only way.
The Beef Quality Assurance Program is funded by the Beef Checkoff.
The Federation of State Beef Councils has a long history of building beef demand through an effective state and national checkoff partnership. And we're pleased to have with us Nancy Jackson, a Mississippi producer who serves as chair of the Federation for NCBA. And Nancy, thanks for joining us here today. Could you just give us a quick refresh on what the Federation is?
The Federation of State Beef Councils was founded in 1963 as a need for a unified voice, just as you said earlier. And it's where voluntarily states come together and they contribute to improve that beef demand. By unifying one voice, together we accomplish more. And it's governed by a board of directors.
Now, what really is the benefit of having a multi-state partnership come together to voice concerns and raise awareness and work on issues?
By coming together, then, as I said, every one of us can accomplish more. Through the checkoff, where each state has their 50 cents that are able to stay their state, and they voluntarily invest in the Federation, wow, we can leverage so much more. Through that Federation, we can accomplish what our contractor has started in doing money for research, promotion, nutrition research, sustainability research, and that voice is unified through that Federation.
Now, these are volunteer leaders. And how do they provide oversight and guidance to the Federation?
The volunteer leaders are absolutely critical because they represent so much of the breadth of the industry from farm to fork. Boy, when you think about cattle producers, importers, processors, feedlot, grain companies, so many other banks, they all come together because they represent so much of the breadth of the industry to evaluate contractors, to guide that voice of where our checkoff dollars are used, which is aligned to our long-range plan, which is also a grassroots-driven program to keep moving our industry forward, to unifying that demand for beef for our consumer.
Well, Nancy, thanks for joining us here today and sharing more on all the work that the Federation does.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Still ahead, we'll introduce you to another cattle producer who is helping to direct the work of the Federation of State Beef Councils. Stay with us.
Flagging obstacles, mapping boundaries, setting AB lines. What used to take plenty of time in the tractor seat now gets done with a Gator XUV. Precision ag technology goes nimble in our redesigned utility vehicle. It's tech that's efficient, effective, and easy to implement into your operations. Get more from your Gator XUV with Bluetooth connectivity, AutoTrack ready compatibility, and Green Star ready operation. Upgrade the way you work today.
CattleCon 2026 heads to the heart of Nashville, February 3rd to the 5th. It's the largest cattle industry event of the year. Plus, you can check out the huge NCBA trade show. Don't miss CattleCon 2026, February 3rd to the 5th. Visit convention.ncba.org for more.
My name is Russ Hustleton, and I am the Federation of State Beef Councils. I'm actually kind of a unicorn in the business. I started from scratch with nothing. In about 2003 or 4, I bought my first little set of heifers, and over time slowly grew that into a business. I actually am a full-time producer now and have been since 2008. My current role with the Federation of State Beef Councils, I am the Region 2 Vice President for the Federation of State Beef Councils. I serve on the NCBA Executive Committee. Volunteer leadership is vitally important, and that's something that people need to understand about the beef checkoff, is it's producer-led, period. Everything starts and ends with producers. From the beginning to the end, it's a producer-led organization. The collective effort of state beef councils, it's amazing what they can accomplish. You got a lot of shared resources, common messages. They can accomplish a lot of things that the individual state beef councils may or may not be able to do on their own, because like it or not, the checkoff dollar amount is actually very small in the grand scheme of things. And so the state beef councils have to take every opportunity to be as efficient as possible in order to stretch those dollars out as far as they can go. One specific program that has had a huge impact on our state, recently, last fall, there was an ad campaign with a big box store It's a shared resource campaign. It was all over the country, something that our state couldn't have done on their own. So they went in with the other states and the Federation. This campaign made 52 million impressions on consumers. If that's not your money being efficient, I don't know what is, and generated over $10 million in beef sales as a direct result of this ad campaign. My message to producers about the value of the checkoff, it's producer-led, period. Start, beginning, and end, it comes from producers. Producers are making the decisions, and one thing that I hit on, it is a cost recovery program. There's not an open checkbook writing checks. Contractors that want to receive checkoff funds have to present a proposal that's actually worthy of checkoff funds. They have to go and do the work. They have to prove that they did the work that they said they were going to do. Then they get reimbursed. Even after 60 years, the Federation continues to be vital. I don't care what industry you're looking at. Every single industry on the planet has some sort of a marketing department. The checkoff is working for us, doing the research, doing the marketing, making sure our product gets consumed as far and as wide as possible.
That wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, and we'll see you again right here next week on RFD TV.